Well, everyone, it's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this week, I have a special guest, my brother Ethan.
Hey
Thanks for
everybody, how
coming
you
on.
doing?
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
And this time, we're talking some TV because we're talking spoiler talk for season 2 of Only Murders in the Building, which has come out of nowhere to be quite the popular show for
Just like
Steve
their
Martin,
podcast.
huh?
Just like their podcast.
Yeah, Steve Martin and Martin Short, who long thought retired or over the hill at this point. I don't think Steve Martin has consistently acted in like a long time. He's been playing banjos and stuff. And then I'm trying to think, Martin Short popped up for like a hot second as a leprechaun in Schmigadoon on Apple TV Plus. And then he was also a canceled like director or something in the morning show who used to be friends with Steve Carell's character. So like I think he was in like an episode. So but they get
We
the
finally got more of them. We finally got more of them, so that's nice.
So happy. But and you know they tried to get the youth vote too, and threw in Selena Gomez as we have this trio of murder podcast fans who wind up solving a murder in season 1, but this time they're set up for murder. They have been framed, and this time Charles, Oliver, and Mabel have to figure out who's setting them up, who killed the lady who was the manager of their obnoxious New York apartment building. And she had a lot of enemies, but who was the most enemy? But so Ethan, what did you overall, what were your thoughts on the second season of Only Murders in the Building?
I think I enjoyed this one a little bit more than the first one. And I mean, the first season was great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with you got to know the characters already, you get to learn their quirks and their personalities and whatnot, and then you get to have a whole season based off of actually knowing that person and how they react to things, and you can almost guess like how they're gonna react to certain situations. I think that made it even more enjoyable that we had all that like that background and whatnot, and then they were actually at that, I guess, throughout the second season, more of a cohesive unit as opposed to just, oh, I saw you in the hallway type deal and this and that, and they actually became like, I'd say family.
Yep.
Because they legitimately care about each other.
I know there's a couple episodes where like Mabel's kind of off on her own, and it does come down to Charles and Oliver, which I'm not going to complain about because I'm never going to complain about Steve Martin Short together. But this trio, obviously, they're being framed for murder. It's Bunny, right? Like the one who is like the manager lady. So she's murdered. And we see that at the end of the first season, and it looks like Mabel was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And somebody plants the knife and all kinds of stuff. And we wind up taking our three main characters in some interesting directions. Because, like, I guess to start with Mabel. So Mabel kind of has now this reputation around her where people think she murdered somebody. Mm-hmm. And people are calling her names and she's getting a reputation.
Bloody Mabel.
Bloody Mabel. And then you have she winds up connecting with this new character played by Cara Delevingne, who's like some kind of like art gallery manager, and they start having a fling together. But then Mabel's not quite sure who to trust, and she finds her way into some interesting interactions. I think one of the most interesting is she spent that whole entire episode with the deaf guy from the first season, Nathan Lane's son. And I guess, what was your favorite part of Mabel's story in this season?
I enjoyed her little like Hardy Boys moment with what's his name, son.
Yeah, it's very Greek. They're very Greek. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, it's Teddy Demas, Nathan Lane's character, his son. That was Theo Demas, played by John Caverly and James Caverly. Honestly, that was one of my favorite episodes. Was like them at the that like Coney Island or something like that.
Yeah, they were. I believe they were at Coney Island. Yeah.
And trying to find the glitter bomb guy. That became a fun little thing, the glitter bomb thing. So like that was one of the top moments in this season, because they had a very interesting dynamic with each other that was very unexpected.
Yeah.
Now, in this season, we have Oliver, and I feel like his biggest thing is we start to realize that he had a lot more history with Teddy Demas than even we probably understood from the first season, and then starts to question if his son's his actual son or not.
Yeah.
After like his son gets like a DNA test and there's a bunch of Greek in it, and he's just like, and one of my favorite scenes in the whole season is them like flashback to that party. And you know, it's really alluding to that Oliver's wife had an affair with Teddy. But what were your favorite things about Martin Short's role in this season?
I like I feel like his character really you got a whole lot of backstory and character development. I feel like in the first season he really seemed like just like a selfish, like money grubbing guy.
Director.
Like albeit it's like he couldn't even afford to. He was borderline going to get evicted anyway from this place. Like I can understand why he was in the situation that he was in and not wanting to give up the podcast, whether like all of their lives were getting threatened and like family members getting threatened and whatnot. But he made a huge leap like with character development in this season. Not only was he like the comic relief that he was in the first season, but he had a lot of really like heartfelt, serious scenes in that second season, especially dealing with his son. And honestly, when he confronted Teddy, and that whole scene where he's like, I don't care at this point, but do not tell my son. And I think he did a really good job of showing the like frustration and the love he actually had for his son, even though technically, I mean, I biologically not his son, but there's plenty of people out there that their biological parents aren't there anyway.
Yeah.
And they have somebody in their life that takes that role, and even though he's not his actual dad, he actually like he still felt like that was his son. And I thought that was a really powerful scene, because really like the way that his character is in that show, I thought like he would have taken something and like beat the living shit out of him with like, I know physically he probably couldn't do it, but like if he had, you know, he brought in like a golf club and beat the crap out of him.
To be fair, it would be a fight between Martin Short and Nathan Lane. So
yeah.
I don't know how
Well, I mean,
that
like,
fight's
based
gonna be.
off of like how threatening they try to make Teddy Demas.
That is true. Until
Like,
you realize it's Nathan Lane. He's like,
yeah.
but
And
anyway.
I felt like it could have went either way, where he was just like flip shit on this dude. And then I was pleasantly surprised with the outcome of that scene and the emotions that went through it. So yeah, you I didn't see any of that from him really that I can recall in season 1. No, so I think that scene like really cemented his growth throughout the 2 seasons, and then his eventual conversation with his son. So
yeah, he definitely was a lot more of like the fun in the first season, and like you get some awkward moments with him like trying to get money from his son in the first season, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but the real wealth, that well full of all kinds of stuff this season, was Charles. Because let's see. So one, speaking of daddy issues, his dad, and like that was effed up. Like his dad would leave him outside while he goes like schmangs.
Audition.
Yeah, his auditions. So that whole entire thing, the picture of his dad, like the portrait.
Yeah, that was probably like the weirdest thing. Like, why would you want a photo of your dad naked? Like,
yep, that the Bravo's coming back, and then them worried about him getting sent to prison.
Yeah, again. So they were gonna
give him dementia.
Yeah,
like a wheelchair. His flirtations with like the one lady who works on the set, and then his whole thing with his more or less his stepdaughter coming back into the picture that he had this relationship with. And then of course, because he just couldn't let her go.
Yeah, that was like
having Jan come back, Amy Ryan, and then was that it? Oh, I have to say, right off the bat, one of my favorite moments in this whole entire season was Jane Lynch
being
his body double and breaking up with her. And it's hilarious, but also that hit hard emotionally. And like her reading that letter, I was just like, oh, Charles. And that hit on a whole other level. It wasn't hard for Charles to be my favorite character in this show because it's Steve Martin, but like this season really solidified, like there's so much going on with his character in this season. What was your favorite element of Charles's story here?
I feel like he was predictably unpredictable. Like he has this just way of going about things, and then he'll just randomly fly off the handle a little bit.
Yep.
And I don't like it's just how he handled situations. It was serious, but also hilarious at the same time. I don't know if it was done on purpose or that's how the character's built.
Well, but he created this show, so you could definitely tell this is very much a Steve Martin thing.
I don't know. I just like I feel like everything about his character was the best. Like just watching Steve Martin in anything was friggin' awesome.
Sure
and
is.
Like watching movies from like the 80s and like early 90s with Steve Martin in it, and then not really being able to see a whole lot of him until now when he's like in the spotlight. I think he really shined. Like you didn't know what you were gonna get.
Well, and
Honestly,
I think this show balances a lot of great drama and comedy because, like, you have the moment where, like, him, like, one of the best comic moments is him and Oliver in the bathroom trying to weasel their way out of that situation that they were stuck in, with like the knife stuck in the ceiling and all that nonsense. But like the whole entire thing with him like trying to let Jan go and him processing his father's stuff and the blackout and him really wanting to make sure that he got to like his stepdaughter. She's, I don't think she's technically a stepdaughter, but you know, for all intents and purposes, like his stepdaughter. But it's there's so many great moments with him in this season. Now, I have to. So, celebrity cameo comparisons. Who's better, Sting or Amy Schumer?
Sting.
I knew that.
He went all Sting. Like, all right, I'm even trying to take my sheer hatred for her out of the picture. It's still Sting.
Yeah.
Sting.
I could not believe Sting was in the first season of this show.
That's not somebody you would expect to be in, like, whether it was made by Steve Martin or not. Like, no. I don't expect to Steve. Like, what do you see Sting in? Do the Police even like they haven't toured?
He turned out to be Hansel's dad in Zoolander 2. But that was the last time I saw Sting in anything.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that, honestly. And then it was actually like a pretty pleasant surprise. It wasn't just like what the frig is he doing here? It turned into like
they legitimately thought Sting actually murdered somebody.
Yeah, this is well, I mean, how he carried himself. Try Fubo TV free at Fubo TV. Dude, would you doubt it?
It's interesting, and I feel like he had a much more like complete story, because I feel like Amy Schumer just kind of like dropped off. Like they never followed.
When was the last time we like in halfway through the season, wasn't it?
That was like early in the season. I think she was only in it for like one episode or something. So like that just felt like a hanging thread there. But I do feel like, who was your favorite returning like supporting character from the first season?
The door guy.
Oh my god, when he got to act at the end, that was great. I'm just like, damn.
that one thing was like when they asked him like, how did you become how did you become a doorman? And he's just like, well, I was doing some off-Broadway stuff, and I really just, like, I felt like I had a passion to be a doorman. And it was like something in the tune. Like, really, are you fucking kidding me? You think I wanted to be a doorman or some shit like that? It's like, I legitimately thought he was being serious for a minute. And
he was convincing.
And then he dropped that bomb. Yeah. And he's like, what are you, fucking stupid? I forget his exact words for it, but it was friggin' hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like he was a great character in this, like returning in this season. I feel like my favorite returning character probably was Jane Lynch. Like, I just loved, like, she's just hilarious, and the fact that she could get away with being like a Steve Martin stunt double is hilarious. But
well,
like,
the thing is, it's so unbelievable that it just made it hilarious that she was even that was even like a thing that to where,
yep,
like, Jane Lynch is more like badass and fearless than Charles actually is.
yep.
And I thought it was just like, it was a great dynamic between the two, like when they were both on screen together.
Who is your favorite new character?
This is definitely biased based off of almost like sheer looks. It was the art gallery girl, because yeah, she's hot.
Yep, there you
And
go.
like the accent and just how she carries herself, like her whole vibe in general.
I just never want to watch her in Suicide Squad ever again.
I didn't watch it, so.
You didn't see Suicide Squad?
Like, was it the first one, or you
Yeah, the
talking
one
about?
with Will Smith in it.
I had no clue she was in it.
She was the weird, witchy antagonist. Not great.
That's
Not
how much
bad.
I paid attention, apparently, to the movie.
Cara Delevingne has a very interesting track record as an actress.
I'd say so.
I feel like my favorite new character is his stepdaughter. Like, I enjoyed her, like, being added into the story. I even thought it was hilarious when, like, Mabel tried to connect with her, and like Mabel's still like a generation older than her. So it's
Yeah,
like,
she thought she was still like in the know, had like what was trendy
nope,
back,
not at all.
you know, because she's around our age-ish.
Yeah, I guess she's like a really young millennial.
So it's like,
And
it's like us saying like
his
going out there
stepdaughter.
wearing Janko jeans and still thinking they're they're in style or some shit like that. And then like any words that came out of her mouth, like slang from like the mid 2000s, she's just like, no one says that anymore. And that hits me personally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you know that based off of being around a bunch of college kids all the time.
I feel that all the time.
So that was very relatable when you're trying to talk to somebody who's considerably, like, having to have an interaction with somebody who's considerably younger than you, and you're like, are we speaking the same language? Because she thought she was, but they weren't.
Yeah. Also, this is kind of a cheat, but Paul Rudd, for all couple minutes he's in it.
One. I couldn't believe he was in that.
That was like, what? What's going on here?
Where the hell did you come from? What kind of budget do they have?
Yeah. It is a Hulu show. It has that Disney money. But so my last big thing I wanted to talk about is, at what point did you realize what was really going on in this season?
Well, I thought I had an idea.
Who did you think it was?
Honestly, they did a pretty good job of painting a picture that it was what's her name? The podcast lady.
Yeah, they had us hook, line, and sinker thinking it was Tina Fey.
All the way up to that last act of the show,
which
of that season.
By the way, that last episode was amazing.
That was probably that was hands down. I don't know if this is going to be something like to wrap it up, but that was hands down. I feel like the best episode that they had.
Well,
I'm
on
not trying to
IMDb,
take anything away.
on IMDb, it is the highest rated episode of the show.
Like 8.9?
Like a 9.
I mean, it was a great friggin' episode.
Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10.
That was close.
It was a great episode. Like I think the finale of the first season was an 8.8. But like this episode, like that whole entire thing, like they had me for a second that Charles actually got stabbed.
Oh my God, they did. Yeah,
I was like, no.
Well, I think I'll be perfectly honest with you with that whole exchange there. I honestly was more surprised that she stabbed him than him getting stabbed. I was like, all right, somebody has to get seriously injured or maybe killed. That's like a main character.
Mm-hmm.
And because just based like on the like off of the build up to this final episode, I don't know if it's just based off of watching so many shows like freaking Game of Thrones and whatnot, where you just kill everybody. But that's I was expecting something to happen to somebody, but I didn't expect to see her like fly off the freaking handle and plunge a freaking knife into somebody.
Yeah,
like, that's what I was more surprised about than Charles actually getting stabbed.
The only inkling of something else was going on was I felt like them being like, it was Cara Delevingne the whole time felt really rushed. And I'm like, something doesn't feel right about this. But then I got all caught up in the moment. I'm like, no. But then, yeah, I did not expect, I was not shocked Michael Rappaport had something to do with it.
He's a sack of shit, man. that whole exchange that they had in the boxing ring, him and Selena Gomez, was like, you're a fucking creep, dude. Like, you're legitimately threatening somebody half your size.
Yep. Straight radio.
Like, what kind of fucking tough guy do you think you are? You obviously aren't.
No.
Because you're legitimately threatening someone that's half your size. Isn't in the line of freaking work that he's in that actually has to like fend for himself type deal. And I'm like, that, like, I didn't like him to begin with. Even in real life, that guy's a piece of shit. Like, he's just a shitty person.
Yeah,
but
like right from the start, you knew that he was no good in this.
Yeah, there was something wrong. There was something going wrong. But that scene there completely cemented like how much of a piece of shit that guy is. And then with the reveal and all that at the end, I thought it would have been like, yeah, he was with Tina Fey. You know what I mean?
They had you hook, line, and sinker.
They did, because I mean, that was probably just like a like a little flash of him trying to like flirt with her or some shit. Because there's no way Tina Fey's gonna be like, yeah, I get that guy. No, there's no friggin' way. She was way too successful to begin with to be with some schmo like him.
And the fact that it turned out to be the podcast assistant the whole time is just like, oh dang! It was so close and right in front of our faces, but not obvious enough. Like, I thought it was obvious that Michael Rappaport was involved, but they hid.
Yeah, because they did. I think this is why they did it, I believe. Why they made it so blatantly obvious that he was doing some fucked up shit. To take your mind off of any possibility that it was an intern girl.
Yep.
Because she got shit on the whole friggin' time that, like, the second she walked on screen.
She sure did.
On. And, like, I get it. But, like, even now that I know that she did it, I'm like, what? it's still not like a well duh moment. It's like
what?
Wow. Like she put in some damn work to. She would have been a really good freaking true crime podcaster. Like if she didn't freaking murder somebody and go to jail.
Yep. But so
we didn't talk about one person. That was a pretty damn good supporting character in this show, season 1 to the end of season 2. The detective.
Yes, she's great.
And the fact that they got her and she's like, damn, like she just thought they were batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And she was chomping at the bit to lock those fuckers up. And then they solve a freaking murder that no one even knew heads or tails for. They're just like, we have no clue.
Yeah, Divine Joy Randolph was a blast in this show.
Yeah. She was definitely like a flyer under the radar type character. Like even we've been talking about this for almost an hour.
Minute. Yeah, didn't
you know what I mean?
About her yet.
And then I remember just because, all right, that moment when they're like, you did it, and she like winds up saying, yeah, blah 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 blah. And then like the scene went through and I saw her coming in and then I was like, oh shit, like how do we forget that? Because she was legitimately like a pleasant part of the first 2 seasons of that show. Like she made it interesting because we didn't know if they were going to get caught by her, whether they did it or not.
Yeah.
Whether they were going to get locked up before they can solve this crime. But then they get vindicated.
Yeah.
Because they wind up there's just like a couple of people from like 3 people from different walks of life. And with no detective experience other than I was on a sitcom being a detective.
I did this on TV.
Yes, I did it on TV. It translates to real life. And
but yeah, she's great. And like legendary actress Shirley MacLaine popped up in this too as the one who was totally schmanging with Charles's dad.
Okay, so Bunny's mom.
Yep.
I was trying she looked like she was somebody of importance. What I didn't know.
Yeah, Shirley MacLaine's still kicking, still going, still acting.
Good I didn't know like what she was from, but I felt like her presence on screen was like, okay, this isn't just some like random.
Yeah, this isn't just some random old lady that they got to play in this role. Yeah. And also shout out to Amy Ryan, who's great. Again, as Jan. Just that's the thing. They had such a big shoes to fill for an antagonist because she was so amazing in that first season, and she's unhinged. She is crazy and messed up.
Certified bad shit.
Yep. But Ethan, thank you for coming on and chatting Only Murders in the Building, and I'm sure we'll definitely be doing this for season 3 and learning about who killed Paul Rudd.
Hell yeah. And I'll make sure I go to the thrift store and try to get the best like either Charles outfit or what's his name. I feel like it needs to happen. Like this is the closest I could. Like I just kept my stuff on.
Which one is this? Which one of us is Charles and which one's Oliver?
That's a hard one because I feel like I'm more goofy than you are.
I feel like I'm more of a Charles than I am an Oliver.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I like the flamboyance and whatnot of Oliver and kind of like the serious demeanor, but also like I could be a dipshit too. type deal, depending on who I'm around. I feel like at
We're just
least
gonna
that personality.
we're both gonna dress as Bravos.
One of us can be Jane Lynch Bravos, and the other.
That would be hilarious.
But I feel like we do need to get outfits for the talking about season 3.
Next time we gotta do it. But Ethan, would you like to shamelessly plug anything before we wrap up?
I don't want to send people to I guess my page right now, because it's like I haven't done anything for it. It's kind of like haven't posted anything since August. So there's not much to look at if you haven't already. So
fair, that's a couple weeks. But anyway.
Whatever, dude. When was it? Late July? I don't know when I went to Otakon. That was like the last time I posted anything. So I can't even remember the last time I posted. That's how infrequently I actually do it.
I posted like an hour ago. So there you
Somebody
go.
hire me for like remote advertising. I don't
know. Endless content.
But, I am full of endless content, except on my own pages.
But thanks again, Ethan.
Thank you for having me.
And thank all of you for tuning in and always supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.